This is the first build I've done in a couple of weeks. I've been so busy with the channel that I haven't had time to do any builds. And I make a lot more money on builds than I do on the channel, so I need to get back to doing a lot of these. I'm kind of holding off on a lot of it to see what ends up happening with the market, but this one needs to go. So what we have here is a AMD Ryzen 9 5900X, 32 gigs, 2x16 DDR4. It's got a 240 gig SSD, a 500 gig SSD that's tucked back there somewhere. It's got a kind of middle of the road MSI board in it. You've got the RTX 3070 Ti and an 850 watt power supply. It's got a 240 millimeter deep cool liquid cooler, AIO. And then, oh yeah, and then I think I mentioned all six fans. So this is a gaming desktop that can run anything you can throw at it. This almost completely maxes 1440p. There's a few games like Cyberpunk that have a couple of insanely high settings that are specifically made to bring your computer to its knees. Other than that, this maxes pretty much everything you've thrown at it. It maxes Jedi Survivor. It maxes Claire Obscure 33. Aside from like one or two settings, it maxes Cyberpunk. So this is a very, very capable 1440p build. I'm probably going to post it for around $850. And anyway, though, so let's get to the build. As you see, it's already completed, but you guys are going to get to spend the next hour and a half with me building a system. Actually, I don't know how long the build is. It's a long one, though, because I broke it up. I broke it up into different pieces, but it ended up making it so I kind of spent a little bit longer on each piece because they were each individual pieces. So anyway, I hope you guys I hope you guys enjoy the build, and let's get to it. So the first thing you're going to be looking for is there's a little, can you even see it? I don't even know if you can see it. There's a little gold notch. I think you can see it now. So there's a little gold notch in the corner there, and that's going to line up with a notch on the board. Well, a little triangle on the board. So if you look on this board's a little bit different. This one actually has a little white mark right here on the board that says CPU on it. It's going to go right in there. So the two triangles match up. Now, the other thing you can do, if you're not sure, you look on the underside, and there is a large, obvious triangle on the underside here. You see that? And then the other thing you can do, in addition to that little triangle, that triangle is also next to this actual little cutout in the pins. So you can kind of identify that that's where it goes. So that's how you line it up in the socket. So you literally just put it down like this. And when you get it lined up with the pins, it's just going to drop in. I recommend kind of just ever so slightly wiggling it back and forth a little bit. And then you close this. Now, one word of caution. If you put the CPU in and it doesn't just drop in like that, now sometimes you do have to give it a little bit of pressure. However, before you ever give it that little bit of pressure, if it's giving you resistance, you want to take it out and you want to look real close at those pins and make sure you don't have any bent. And sometimes it helps to kind of move it around like this so you can see it in different light. And just make sure you don't have any bent pins, because chances are, if you have a slightly bent pin, it's going to be very easy to fix it. But the moment you put it in the socket and then press down on it with a bent pin, oops, and that's how you can tell. I actually got it in the wrong place there. That's how you can tell too that you've got lined up or not. If you've got a bent pin and then you press down on it, you're going to probably destroy it. So you want to make sure not to do that. The way that we're doing this is on the assumption that you received only the radiator. So the first thing we're going to do, this is a standard AMD backplate. We're going to flip it over. We're going to stick this AMD backplate on. Then this particular radiator uses, these are slightly different. Most radiators use a little bit smaller version of this, but for whatever reason, this is what they went with. Now, you just screw each of these in. Now, do be aware, each liquid cooler, at least each manufacturer, has their own slightly different way of doing this. There are some fairly strong similarities between them. Some of them are almost identical, but some of them are different. So be aware that this is not necessarily a universal install guide. That's why I specified it for the Deep Cool Castle 240EX in this case. Generally speaking, if you have only the radiator, as long as it has the brackets, this bracket with it, you can do this with non-original parts. It's just you got to make sure that the height is right. As long as the height is right, sometimes just getting really close is good enough. Sometimes it needs to be exact. It just depends on the way it's done. So we're just going to use some basic thermal paste on here. In this case, I'm using the large center dot method. Now you want to remember that when you put this on, that way is the top of your case. So this is how it's going to sit, which is what I want. And then you just screw it on. Now, it is worth mentioning that these screws that I'm using are basically universal. Pretty much every liquid cooler setup uses these types of this threading of thumb screw. So these could have been off of a Corsair. I don't know. They could have been off of anything. I have a huge supply of this stuff, so sometimes I just grab what I have on hand. And then the way that I have this done, it's just going to sit real easy, just like this. So we're starting here with the cooling setup. So we're going to do a 6-fan kit of up here fans. We're starting with the radiator. So the way that this is going to sit in the build, you got to think about this. It's going to sit like this. So it'll sit, so this will sit here, and then it'll sit up there. So we want the fans installed like this, blowing out. Actually, missed one little thing. We are going to need some zip ties. So this one actually has some reasonably nice screws it came with. One of the things I always worry about is using screws that are too long if I don't actually have the screws that the AIO came with. I have seen, it seems like it's not an issue anymore. I don't know if it was like an early AIO thing, but I have seen screws go through the screw threads into the radiator underneath. It looks like the way they're doing it now is they don't have any liquid in the path of the screws, but I have seen it happen where you screw the screws in too deep and they end up going through and damaging the radiator. And once you puncture it, it's pretty much toast, so I'm gonna try to keep my head out of the way this time. This is a Deep Cool Castle 240. in white. And as you have, you're about to see, the case is white as well. Okay, so that's good to go. So then we'll set this aside for a second. And we'll install the fans in the case. So the 6 fans is a full, it's what I call a full loadout. So that's going to give us fans in every single location that the case is set up to have a fan. And it just occurred to me that I forgot to grab screws. That is just peachy. Where did my screws go? Well, this is, oh, there they are. Okay. Hopefully I have some good, oh, wait. These come with screws. I think they come with screws. I thought they did. Oh, there they are. It's like, what? They came with screws. Okay. They used to include really, really garbage screws with these that really kind of sucked, that didn't have enough enough of a edge on them. But the newer ones, the the newer versions of these ultra budget fan kits have gotten a bunch of the stuff that the, dang it, a bunch of stuff that the earlier models really screwed up. They've pretty much corrected at this point. So these things are actually pretty decent little fan kits now. So we're installing the back fan. And of course you want that to be the exhaust. And this is going to be just a traditional airflow setup. So we just have the, the screwdriver really sucks. So we just have the back fan blowing out. The 3 fans on the front are going to blow in for intake. And then the top ones on the radiator are also going to be exhaust as well. Which again is basically like your absolute, just basic standard fan configuration. It doesn't really get more basic standard than that. We'll see if we can. So I kind of wish these budget fan kits didn't even brand themselves. Nobody cares about up here, but you want to try, if possible, to have the brand so that it sits like this. So you want it like, you want it sitting like that, so it just looks better. I've been meaning to order off Amazon some like 1.5, whatever diameter that is, inch just black screws just to cover them up, just because, for one, if nothing else, even if I didn't care about the fan branding thing, it would just be easier to mount fans if I didn't have to worry about what direction that went. But now on this particular case, this is the Corsair 570EX, and on this case, the fan mounting bracket here actually does come out, so that if you decided to go that route, that can make your life a little bit easier. As you're seeing here, I've elected not to remove it in this particular situation. I just haven't seen it as necessary in this case. No pun intended. This screwdriver really sucks. I misplaced my good screwdriver. Let's see here. Do we have a good screwdriver sitting around? Guess we'll try. Oh, wait. I think I may have found one. I've got a bunch of them. I don't think any of them are right, but we'll see here. It can be rather frustrating. I have this tiny, crappy little apartment, and somehow... Oh, yeah, that's a little better. Somehow I'm always misplacing stuff. I'm not really sure how, because it's not really anywhere. Ooh, this looks okay. It's not really anywhere for the stuff to go. Somehow it disappears anyway, though. Okay. That's one. And then, let's see here. I actually got lucky with this because the up here fan kits, they only offer them in 3 fans and 5 fans. And I just happened to get lucky that I had a, let's make sure this is right again. I just happened to get lucky that I happened to have I did a build a little while back that only used 4 of them. And so I had a spare. That's one of the reasons why you should always try to buy the same fan kit if you can for every build, because you're going to have some builds where if you're trying to fully fill them, which I do try to fully fill them. Now, I didn't used to, but I feel like they've gotten so cheap at this point for these low-end fan kits. I think it looks better, especially with what's going on with the whole RAM situation. I think especially if you're like a system builder like me, I think we're going to have to lean more heavily into the aesthetics and just the non-component side, so the quality of the build, things like that. Because prices are going up, and they're going to keep going up. Today, I'm going to have to look. I don't know on price for this build yet. This is my odd man out build. I had a 5800X3D, a 5950X, and this 5900X. And once I decided between the 5950X and the 5800X3D, then one of them was going to get the axe, and the first one is this 5900. I actually really like the way that these up here fans look. The only thing that they could do that would make me just a little bit happier is, and I know there are, I've seen some in pictures. I haven't found what the exact model is yet, but I know they exist. But if this specific fan kit was offered, as a, was offered with a center light, so the hub lit up. That's always been the difference between like the higher end Corsair QL and LL fans and these budget fans, at least for a while. So first they copied this look, but so far I haven't yet found the kit that has the center hub lit as well. I mean, I know there are kits, but not at this price. But getting them at this price is also what allows you to completely fill all the fan slots, because, I mean, even if you get the fans for like $6 or $7 a piece as part of the kit, you're still getting fairly expensive when you add, like some of these cases, some of these fish tank style cases with like 10, 12, 15, right, fans, even 15 fans at $6 or $7. Oh, 15 fans at $5 a fan. When you're talking about budget builds, it really starts to add up. Now, luckily, unlike the past where this type of build, like for something like this, if you were to fill it with like Corsair LL fans back in like 2019 or something, I mean, hell, what you'd be looking at, like, I don't know, $350 worth of fans. I think I've got $350 worth of QL140s, at least priced at the time I bought them in my main build. Okay, so then what we're gonna do is this, and this is gonna sit on the motherboard, either like that or that. I think like that. Let's see here. Maybe not. Do I want to go this way? Might be better off. How is that? Yeah, it is. It is horizontal or vertical. Maybe I should go this way. Let's see here. That or that. Trying to decide. You know, I think honestly, I think I like the tubes over here better, to be honest. It's such a stupid thing to worry about, you know, but okay, let's see here. So these are just going to use normal, just completely standard. Oh, that's too big. Maybe it's not. These are going to use just completely standard PC case fan screws, like the same ones that you use with like hard drives, just any random case accessory. Let's see here. And I always think I have a ton of them, and then I don't. So, here, let's see if I can zoom this out. Can I zoom this out? Oh, yeah, I can. Okay, cool. I knew there was a reason why I bought this. Yeah, and it's even focused, too. I knew there was a reason why I kept this lens around. My primary use case for this lens, this is a 12 millimeter lens. My primary, well, it's a 12 to 24 zoom, and my primary use case for it is no longer relevant. I ended up switching to a 14 millimeter, much faster though, prime, 1.8 for those of you that know photography. So this one's a 2.8, that one's a 1.8. And I was like so close to saying, okay, I'm gonna swap this for something else. I was thinking maybe like a long lens, like a 600. Like Sony has a Actually, Sony has a 400 to 800, I think, that costs about what this lens is worth, I think. But then I realized, like, the day before, I was going to message my camera guy and see if he wanted to do some tradey, cashy action. I was like, hey, that would be the perfect lens for builds on the desk. And it's totally overkill for what this is. But it's like I already have the lens on hand. I already justified the price. So it's like, I'm just going to use it. Okay. So just because of the price that this system's going to sell at, I want everything right. So I'm going to fill all of the fan, or all of the screw holes. Okay, and then the last thing for us to do here is figure out, trying to decide whether or not I want to put the fan kit, or if I want to put the fan controller as part of this video. Okay. Oopsie, didn't want to do that, but it's okay. So I'm thinking we're going to run, because I only have one of the drive sleds, so we're going to run it to right there. And it looks like I do, in fact, have the ability to do that. I should probably pull all of this Corsair stuff out, because I don't actually need it for this build, but okay, so that so then this is probably going to go all through here. Okay, and then that'll go there. I'm going to try to hide the cables using the Corsair cable guide here. I don't actually usually get that. And actually, I know why, because personally, I used to always throw those out. So I think everybody else usually throws them out too. But I did one a little while back where I used it, and I was actually really digging the way it looked. So I'm going to try to use it. So then we've got 3 and 3. So literally all we have to do. It's crazy how big these fan controllers have gotten on these things. Okay. So I'm probably going to want power going down towards the power supply. So yeah, this will go right here. Oh, and it fits right between like that. Perfect too. Probably higher up, because the drive is probably going to, well, I guess I could have the drive. Yeah, I could have the drive facing down. So we can do that. So let's put this in. Now, do keep in mind with this build, we are looking at a tempered glass panel on the back here. So it is worth mentioning that the cable management will be at least partially visible. It is, I think it's partly smoked, but it is visible. And so when you do these, you want them to look at least halfway decent, because the cable management's going to be fully in view. There's no hiding on these types of double-sided glass. Now, I prefer double-sided glass personally, but it is a slightly more difficult setup to build in, just from an aesthetic point of view, because there's not as much options to hide stuff as there is. Okay, and I think I'm not going to use that, so I'll pull that out for now. We're going to have to find a way to zip tie these that keeps them all in place. Okay. Now this is all what I'm about to do now is all like personal perfection stuff. None of this is actually really necessary, but we're going to do it because, well, like I said, especially with the prices of builds going up, I also want the quality to go up. I mean, if we're going to have to charge more for the builds for the same hardware, at the very least, let's try to make them look like they're worth it, you know? Just whatever you do, don't ask the Reddit PC flip sub what a computer is worth. Oh man. They'll try to tell you that this thing is worth like $350. Oh yeah, used hardware shouldn't be worth anything. There's actually a lot of people that are that way, but I think they know better. I think that most of them are just angry that used stuff isn't basically free. I think there's a, gosh darn it. It's going to take a couple of these. I think there's a certain belief that a certain group of people has that any hardware that's not like the current top end thing is worth nothing at all. I don't know if that'd be good for the PC hobby or bad. Having zero residual on used hardware, like, I don't know if that'd be good or not. It'd be fun from the standpoint of, you know, being able to buy hardware for absolute dirt cheap or even, you know, free, right? Like, if you're someone like me that likes playing with this older stuff. Oh, come on. This isn't older stuff, but most of the channel is. But I don't think it'd really be good. So just do this. There we go. I don't think it would necessarily be good for the hobby as a whole. Oh, come on. Really? I put it in backwards. Okay, I'm going to call this part done. You guys will see it in the rest of it, how I finished it up. So I'll move on to the next thing. It's time to get to work on the primary components. Oh, crummy. Oh, I guess it's not that bad. It's like, oh, crummy. I just realized that the Oh, the standoffs for the board are underneath the liquid cooler. Luckily, this one has a removable bracket for the liquid cooler. If it were, oh, except for the fact that I permanently attached everything. Yippee. Okay, I think I might be able to get away with this. It would have been easier, but I think I can still make it happen. You know, it's always these wonderful little things that you don't realize until after you already screwed it up. Okay, let's see here. Let's put in our IO shield. Now, personally, I prefer not to do builds without IO shields. I don't know. I've always felt like it makes the build, it cheapifies the build, I guess. That's my real problem with it. Dang, this one is not cooperating. Come on. You got to be careful with these, by the way. These will cut you, and they'll cut you bad, like really bad. If you slip your finger on an IO shield at the wrong place, oh yeah, you'll be bleeding for a very long time. I have done it many times, and it feels not good. Okay, let's see if this will even work. I'm really confused here because I have done a lot of 570X builds, and I don't ever remember this being in the way like that. Maybe it's just me. I don't remember that ever being in the way in that way. Okay, let's see if this uses... I was pretty sure when I looked that it used the larger size screws, but we'll see in a sec. Yeah, it looks like it does use the larger size screws. You know, I would not buy one of these low-end MSI ATX boards for one of my own builds, just because I have certain things that I want in my builds. But that being said, let's see if I can zoom in a little. Make sure it's focused. I think it's focused. Looks like it's focused. Okay, I think we're good. I hate to sound like I'm recommending something I wouldn't personally use. I have more devices and things that I want in my build than the average person. I mean, I still want sound cards in my builds, okay? Like things like that. For normal users who aren't really looking for those kind of capabilities and add-ons, I think that these are actually pretty solid boards. I'm not really sure how they get the Pro add-on, because typically Pro model means it's got more features, so I'm not sure how that comes about, because all of these MSI Pro models are all slightly down-spec'd. I think we can make this work. Gonna work? Ooh. Oh man, this couldn't, like, it's perfect. If it were any If there were any less space, it wouldn't work. And that's even perfect. Okay, so now the way that we're going to do this. Oh, it did work perfect. Look at that. I'm excited. Okay, so that's just going to go right on there. Or do I want to go like this? Do I want more? No, I think this is perfect. Yeah, I think this is absolutely perfect. I think that's the exact, like you couldn't ask for a cleaner looking attachment. So, let's get our thermal compound. Now, different people are picky about different things. Some people are picky about their thermal compound. And I did a video. I don't think I published it yet, but yeah, no, I didn't publish it yet. I did a video about this cheap HY, I think it's HY 510. Generally speaking, I find the stuff to be what I would describe as good enough. It's not bad enough that it's going to make a dramatic difference in performance, unless you're just like riding the edge of capabilities, like you've overclocked the hell out of your CPU or something, maybe then. But I have never had a situation. This is what I said in my other video. The bottom line is this: I have never had a situation where I have used this stuff, had the thermals come up garbage, and then put something better on, and had that make the difference between functional and not. Like I've had situations where I've used it and then I've gone with something better, and it like helped a little bit, but it has never been the difference between usable and not usable, or like terrible and not terrible. Like I have never experienced that. Oh, this is gonna be a pain in the butt. Let's see here. And you know what? Oh my gosh, that's a pain in the butt too. Could be worse. I've seen worse, but could be better. So we're going to hide the cabling right here in that space. Let's see, can I make it work? I think so. Okay. Now I wonder if these will... It's not doing what I wanted. Gosh darn it. This is why you really want your back plate to have some sort of double-sided adhesive on it. That'll prevent the problem that I just had there, where it like fell back. Okay. Okay, that worked. This is going to actually be a really nice build. This is going to be the classic RGB build look. It's going to have all of the ring fans. You're going to see the ring fans through the front. you're going to get, it's going to be the classic build look. I don't think you could make the build any more classic of a look than what I'm going to do here. So I'm just passing this. This cable I'm passing right now is the cable for the RGB LEDs that are inside the cooler housing thingy. And that is going to actually go over here. And this just uses the standard 3-pin ARGB. So on this build, I've completely replaced the Corsair branded stuff with the fan kit I bought. And this fan kit now, this was one of the big deals, is that when these started coming, so originally the only thing that these could do was connect to the fans. Like literally the fans, and then they were standalone. Like all they could do was drive the fans. But now they can do one of two things. They can serve as a general RGB hub, using their built-in ARGB plugs, or they can serve as an add-on. So, because they do have the ability to receive input from your motherboard. So you can sync them, like even if you have one of those video cards where the video card has RGB, you could even connect it to that. Like you can sync these. You can either sync them or you can use them as the primary device for controlling everything. Hey, look, guys. We're only 5 subs away from 3,600. I think, well, no, I don't think I'm gonna, well, no, we've got what, 6 more days? 7, what is it, December 31st? So it's the 20, what are we on, the 23rd? So 7 or 8 more days, something like that. So I might hit 4,000. It's growing pretty fast now, actually. So I could hit 4,000 before the end of the year. It's possible. If the progress that I'm making right now stays solid, I could see 4K by the end of the year. Okay, so now let's put our power supply in. And let's do something else here real fast. So one of the things I do with my builds is I do like to take individual photographs of all of the components. This is something that, it's just a nice thing for buyers. I've always been of the opinion that buyers, like I see people all the time that post like generic photos. I've done it occasionally myself, but I think buyers really want to see what the parts they're getting right now look like right now. Okay, so you want the fan facing downward, or not necessarily facing downward. It's usually downward, but you want the fan pulling air from outside. Yes, there's a risk of, if you're like right against the carpet, blah, 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 that's always a risk. But if you have a little bit of elevation and your computer isn't sitting right on the ground, this is the way to go. Okay. This is actually an upgrade I'm going to recommend people do during the whole RAM shortage fiasco. Buy yourself that fancy power supply you know you've always wanted. I have been wanting, like, well, because I mean, I think most of us use the same power supply for many, many years. At least I use the same power supply for many builds. I mean, I'll keep using the same power supply as long as it works. I mean, but I've been wanting to buy one of those new ATX 3.0 or whatever ones, the newest ones they've got. Yeah, I'd like to spend a solid, I don't know, $300 to $500, depending on what it buys me, on a power supply. As insane as that sounds, it does sound insane at first, but when you think about the fact that I usually keep them around for a while, I'm trying to think, where did this one have them? Is it on the top? It's right in the middle. Really? Well, I guess that's how we do that. I am liking this new camera, I got to admit. I was shooting with a Sony A7, an A7 III, which any of you that are even vaguely into photography know what an A7 III is. I have an A7 V, or I'm sorry, I have an A7 R5 as well. As crazy as that probably seems to you guys. And I was really trying not to, well, because I wanted a camera basically that I could dedicate more or less to having on the mount that this camera, I mean, you can obviously tell that this camera is on some kind of mount to make this work. So I didn't want my A7 R5 on the mount. I have other things for that camera, and I liked the idea of having multiple cameras. But so I bought the A7 III that I was using as my like my camera that I used for just being on the road. I didn't really like, I'm in the car for work quite a bit, and I didn't really like the idea of, where are they? There they are. I didn't really like the idea that a lot of the places I go, I sometimes have to leave my gear in the car, and I didn't really like the idea of like an $8,000 camera with the lens and stuff that I had for it, just, you know, sitting in my car unsecured. I've got an insurance policy for the camera gear, but I still don't really want it sitting in the car unsecured if I could avoid it. So I bought the A7 III, I think either early this year or late last year, I can't remember, as just like a secondary. And it's a great camera, but its capabilities kind of fall under the category of everything I actually definitely need, but absolutely no frills. And I decided I wanted, and I don't even remember how this works. How does this work? Does it work like, oh, crummy. That's gonna I'll have to keep all of that up there. So this locks into these. So you got to be kind of particular about the positioning of everything to make this thing work. I think we can make it work, though. I think we can. So I had the A7 III, and it mostly worked. I was finding there was a few key features that, I mean, they weren't critical. They weren't absolutely have to have them necessary, but they were some pretty dang good quality of life things that my that the R5 had, and I eventually was like, okay, I need something with these capabilities minimum. And so I wasn't actually going to buy a camera, right? Like, I already had 2 full frame bodies. I was like, what would I need another one for? But I ended up, a buddy of mine wanted the new A7 IV that's coming out or just came out. And so I got offered a decent deal on an A7 IV that I know the history on. Like, it's not from some rando off the street. Like, I know the full history of the camera. And so I was like, it's just money. why have 2 Sony full frame bodies when you can have 3, right? But the A7 IV, which is what we're on now, basically has all of the little quality of life things that I got used to on the A7 R5. Just minus a few of the more advanced features that the A7 R5 has. But like full-sized HDMI, flip-out screen, longer run time before overheating, things like that. Just nice to haves, not necessaries, but nice to haves. Okay, let's put the video card in. What the heck? This is actually going to be a really clean build when it's done. I bet this is going to visually be one of the best builds I've ever done. Okay. That doesn't have too much sag either. I wonder... Let's see here. Yeah, that's almost perfect. Now, I know there's some people that are very much opposed to using the daisy chains on the PCI Express like I just did. I've never had a problem with it. It's never been an issue. That being said, I mean, I would rather only do it on power supplies that, man, I think this is supposed to have a cover there. I'd rather only do it on power supplies that are fairly high quality, like this one. I don't think it's a... I think you should use separate plugs in that situation, but let's see here. Where'd that other plug go? But I don't think it's a big enough thing to worry about, especially, like I said, on builds with quality power supplies from the beginning. I don't think it's a real concern. Okay, let's see. So, one of these days this desk is going to shatter. But that day is not this day, so we're good. Okay. So we need to do... Where's the... Oh, it is down there. Oh, interesting. Okay. The front panel USB 3 connector is down on the bottom. And it looks like this case does not have built-in C. So that makes life a little easier. But the positioning of this port is a bit of a challenge. So let's do this. We're going to need a little bit of slack on it. Yeah, it's going to have to come out like that. And it's going to... So when you're putting these in, you want to be really careful because as you're pressing down on there, you're actually putting quite a bit of force on it. Yeah, that's going to have to come out like that. So that's not going to be gorgeous, but it's serviceable. It's not the end of the world. I'd like it to be a little bit better, but it is what it is. Ideally, this thing would be a little bit bigger of a cutout. But like I said, it is what it is. It's not really going to get any better than what I have right there, so we'll just have to deal with it. So that's that. And then, let's see, what else do we got going on here? Or do I have a... Oh, there is a second one. That's nice. I didn't realize there was a full separate... I thought there was only one of these. That's a second PCI Express plug. So we are gonna... Let's see here. Molex and the second PCIe plug are unnecessary, so we're going to kind of tuck those away down here in the bottom. They are modular. We could remove them. In this case, I'm not going to because again, with the overall value of this system when it's done, I'd like to be able to leave those just in the build for the buyer. Could always put them in a box or a bag or something and give them to them, but if I don't lose them, they will. Okay, and then let's see here. Okay, so I think that this is actually going to work quite nicely. Let's actually put this in place. And that'll, at the very least, make sure that okay, that's going to have to go. Okay, there we go. That was almost out of whack. Ooh. It's that. Is it all in? I think it's all in. I think we're good. Okay. So I at least want it in place while I'm working on it. And then we can kind of take it off and put it back on as needed while we're working on it, if I need to take it off again. Yeah, I'll probably put that down there. Feel like that should have another attachment point there. Let's see if we can do this, actually. Let's pull this off. Let's see if we can just run this. Oh, I can. Yes. Okay, that makes me happy. Okay. So we stick that back under. We run this over. I'm leaning towards using, so I don't have, with what they go for now, I don't have the ability to get my hands on a cheap 1 terabyte NVMe. So what I'm thinking about doing is I've got a decent, small 256 NVMe, and I'm kind of thinking that I might go with and then I've got a 500 gig SSD, SATA SSD. I'm thinking I may just do the 500 gig SATA SSD plus a 256 boot drive NVMe. Okay. So, and then maybe I'll throw in like one of my requisite, basically free 500 gig hard drives that I get. Okay. So this guy goes over here. Yeah, I'm not. Oh no, I'm almost thinking. I wonder if I can. Oops. I'm thinking, seeing if, man, if I'd done it already, I'd kind of just want to drill a hole, but let's see if we can do this. Okay, that might help a little. It's not perfect, but I think it might help a little. Let's see. I'll put another one on if it does. I don't know. I guess it helped a little. Not much, though. Yeah, we'll just leave it. The real right way, like true right way to do this, would actually be to get a USB Type-C front panel adapter to go to the Type-C front panel port, and then run it off that with a little dongle to right there, and so then you wouldn't have this. But it works, it's just it's not perfect. Like, perfect. And then the last thing we need, looks like all we have here is power button and there we go. Okay. Luckily there's not a lot of this because I got to go under the USB 3 connector to plug them in. Okay, let's see here. I don't know why, but I still don't have. So all of these front panel headers all use the same configuration, but for some reason I still have failed to memorize what it is. Hundreds of these builds I've done, and I still don't have this memorized for some weird reason. Okay, so that is that. So could be better, but once again, I think that the glass on these is actually tinted, so it doesn't have to be quite perfect, just almost perfect. Let's see here. You gotta love how the cable management grommets are always just slightly off from where you actually need the things to be. Okay. Do that one. I think we are good. Gonna do a few extras just because of the way that I think this case is supposed to have a little back end on this power supply cover, and it doesn't. I'm pretty sure they're supposed to have it, and for some reason, all of these cases that I receive, the 570X, is like every single one it's missing. Okay, come on. I don't know. Maybe it comes. Maybe when they're maybe when they're new, it comes separate in the box, and people just don't put it in and don't really realize they have it, and then they throw it out. Okay, so we're good to go. So I hope you guys enjoyed the build, and thanks for watching.